Hi champs, so welcome to the second day of the Python series, and today we will make the rock, paper, scissor game in the Python. So champs, are you excited? Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so before starting this session, let's see that what we have learned in the last session. So in the last session, we have seen that how you can use the print function for printing any syntax or any word, and also the integer in the Python. Also, we had seen that how you can use the input function for taking the input from the user in the Python. Not only this, we done some calculation in the last session for calculating the age of any person in the year of 2032. And also we have seen that how you can print any ASCII art using the same print function. Okay, so let's get started. So today we are going to make the rock, paper, scissor game in the Python. And today we will learn the different things in the Python. So the first one is random function for generating the things randomly inside the Python. So we will see this function during making the game, during writing the script for making the game. Also we will see the list, that how you can use the list for containing the multiple elements inside the list. And also we will use the if-else condition for taking the decision that who will win in the game. Okay. So like the last session, again, click on this link and you can find this link in the description of this session. So click on this link, and this time we are going to use the Python 3. Last time we have used the Python, but this time we are going to use the Python 3. So this is the third version of the Python 3. So click on this link, and also you can click on this link by seeing the description. Okay. So today we will make the rock, paper, scissor game. So first, divide this game into the smaller steps. So again, come on the slide. Okay. So before breaking down the problem, let's see about the game and some rules of the game. So this is a two-player game. And in this game, you can give the three types of input, either the rock, paper, or the scissor. And in the Python, we will give the rock with the keyword R, scissor with the key S, and paper with the key P. So there are some rules in this game. So rock always blend the scissor. So if one is giving the input rock and the another player is giving the input scissor, then the player who gives the input rock, he will be win. In the same way, paper covers the rock. So the one player which gives the paper over the rock, then he will be win. In the same way, scissor cut the paper. So the player who gives the scissor over the paper, then he will be win. So these are the rules of the rock, paper, and scissor game. So in this game, first we will take the input from the first player, then from the another player, and then we will do some calculation based on this rule for making the decision that who will be win. So first of all, divide this problem into the smaller steps. So the first is, we will take the input from the first player. Again, see on the screen, in the step number 1, we have to take the input from the first player. So come on the same link which we have clicked, come on the same screen, and the step number 1 is, we have to take the input from the first player. And already in the last session, we had seen that how you can take the input from the user in the Python. So for this, we are going to use the input function. Okay, so make this game more interactive. So whenever you restart this game, it will print on the top, welcome to the Rock Paper Scissor game. So first of all, we will print this syntax, which is welcome to the Rock Paper Scissor game. So just use the print function, start the parenthesis, and we are going to print the syntax. So add the double quote again and just write welcome to the Rock Paper Scissor game. Okay, and after each step, just run your code for testing. So click on the run icon for running the code. Run. And you can see the output on the right side of the screen. So now it's printing welcome to the Rock Paper Scissor game. And now come on the step number 1. So in the step number 1, we have to take the input from the player, from the first player. And for taking the input, we will use the input function. So player 1, we are going to take the input from the player 1. So here I am creating the variable with the name of player 1. And this variable is going to store the value from the player 1. So player 1 is equal to, and because we have to take the input from the user, that input and ask the rock, paper or scissor. Rock, and in the Python script, the user is not going to print the whole word, which is rock, paper and scissor. So the rock with the R, in the same way paper with P, and scissor with S. Okay. So from the line number 3, we are taking the input from the user, and the input is going to save in the player 1 variable. So first, let's print this variable and see the value is storing in this variable or not. Player 1. Click on the run. Rock, paper or scissor. Here I'm just pressing the key R. Now it's printing the R. So the value is going to store in the variable player 1. In the step number 1, we have to do the same thing. We have to take the input from the first player. And we are done with this one. We will be able to take the input from the player first. And now come again on the step number 2. So in the step number 2, we have to take the input from the second second player. And here, instead of adding the second player, we are using the second player as a computer. So the computer will give the input from their side. First, the user will give the input, then the computer will give the input from their side, and then we will do in the step number 3 we will add some condition for taking the decision that who will win, either the computer or the user. So again, come on that trinket. Now we will take the input from the computer. So in the rock, paper, scissor game, there are only 3 possibilities, which is rock, paper and scissor. And because we have to take the input from the computer, so first add all these 3 things, which is rock, paper and scissor in a list. So add this rock, paper, scissor. So again, here I'm creating the variable with the name of RPS value is equal to. So there are the 3 possibilities, which is rock, which we are presenting here with the R, paper with the P and the scissor with the S. So add all these 3 values inside the list. And why we are adding these values inside the list? Because we have to take the random input from the computer. So first we are taking these values inside the list, and then we will use this list for taking the input from the computer side. Create a list, and for creating the list, just use the square bracket. Add the different element by separating with the comma. Rock, paper and scissor. And again, if this is the string, means this is any syntax or any keyword, then add it inside the single quote. And if this has any value, then you can put it without adding any single quote or double quote. And now we have to take the input from the user side, and it should be random. And we have to take the input from this list. Okay. So first import the random library on the top. So on the top, just import the random library. And why we are adding this random library? Because we have to pick the value from this list randomly. So for picking the value from this list randomly, and this will be from the player 2 side, which is the computer. So player 2 is equal to random dot choice, and the random is the library. Inside the random there is a function choice, random dot choice, and we have to pick the value from this list. And the list, the name of the list is RSP value. To start the parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis give the input RSP value. Now print this random value again, which is player 2. These random values are going to store in the player 2 variable. So print it on the screen. So click on the run, and when you click on the run, first it will print the welcome to the rock paper scissor game. Then it will take the input from the player 1. It will print the same input which the player 1 will give. Then it will choose the randomly any value from this list. And for selecting the value randomly from this list, we are using the random.choice function. And then it will print the same value which they have picked randomly from this list. So click on the run and see the changes or the output on the screen. So now it is going to print the whole list, not any random value, because we are printing the list, not the random value. So just change it from the RSP value to player 2. Run again. So here I'm giving the scissor. This time the computer and user both have choose the scissor. And in the game, if we have faced this situation, then the game will be draw. Again run and see. Rock. This time is different. So the computer can choose any value randomly from this list. So this is the list in the Python. And it will always start with the square brackets. Okay. So we are done now with the step number 1. We will be able to take the input from the first player. Also, we will be able to take the input from the second player. And now we will have, in the step number 3, after taking the input from the both user, the player 1 and player 2, we have to add some condition, and based on these condition, we have to make the decision that who will be win. Okay. So for adding the conditions, we are going to use the if-else conditional block. So earlier we have already seen the rules. Where rock is greater than the scissor, paper is greater than the rock, and the scissor is greater than the paper. And we will use the same rule for making the decision. So for adding the condition, there can be a lot of possibilities because the input are 3 types. So there can be 9 types of possibilities, which is either the player 1 gives the value rock and the player 2 scissor. In the same way, player 1 rock, player 2 paper. And then the next one is player 1 gives the value rock and the player 2 also rock. In the same way, for the scissor, there can be a opposite of paper and rock and also the scissor. And for the paper, the opposite one can be scissor and rock and also the paper. Okay. So this will be the player 1 is equal to P and also the player 2 will be P. And here the 3 conditions are the same, where the player 1 value is equal to the player 2 value. Player 1 is equal to R, player 2 is equal to R, which is rock and rock. Player 1 is equal to S, player 2 is equal to S, which is the scissor, scissor. Player 3 is equal to, player 1 is equal to P and player 2 is equal to P, which is paper and paper. So instead of adding each condition separately, we can just add the one condition where if the player 1 value is equal to player 2 value, then the game is going to be draw. And the rest of the condition will remain the same. So now they are the 7 conditions which we have to put inside the Python program for making the decision. And And for adding the condition, we will use the if, elif or else. So come again on the trinket. And now add the condition. So if first add the first condition, which is player 1 is equal to R and player 2 is equal to F. So if player 1 double equal to R and player 2 is equal to F, so the player 1 value is equal to Rock and the player 2 value is equal to F. So who will be winning? Because here the player 2 is the computer and the player 1 is the user, means the U. And R is greater than S. So let's see again. R is greater than S. So U will be born. You won or you are the winner. You can add any. And now add the another condition. And for adding the another condition, inside the if, use the elif keyword. Elif, player 1 is equal to R and player 2 is equal to P. Right. Add the colon at the end of the syntax and it will automatically come with the indentation. And this indentation is telling the Python that we are writing the any syntax or performing the action inside this condition. So this one we are writing inside the elif. So print. So here the player 1 value is equal to R and player 2 value is equal to P. And because the P is greater than R, then the computer will win because the player 2 is equal to computer. So in the same way, add the 4 more conditions. So player 1 is equal to S and player 2 is equal to P. Player 1 is equal to F and player 2 is equal to R. And here player 1 is equal to P, which is paper, and player 2 is equal to R. Player 1 is equal to P and player 2 is equal to F. So here the value is player 1 is equal to scissor and player 2 is equal to paper. Then you won. And for checking the decision based on the condition, just see these rules. So here the S is greater than P, and because the S value is given by the player 1, then the player 1 will be won and player 1 is U. Again here player 1 value is equal to scissor and player 2 value is equal to rock. Then the computer will won. Because the R is greater than S. And again player 1 value is equal to paper and player 2 value is equal to rock. And here paper will cover the rock. Then the player 1 will win, which is U. And the last one, player 1 value is equal to paper and player 2 value is equal to scissor. Then the computer will won because the S is greater than P. Okay. So these are the 6 conditions. And now at the last one. If the player 1 value is equal to player 2 value, then just print draw. So if player 1 is equal to player 2, then it will print draw. And not only this, there can be one condition which can also be possible, which is if the user, which is the AMP, not giving any input, then what will happen? And in that situation, write the condition by adding the keyword else. If the condition is not matching in any of these conditions, then the else block will be terminated. Then it will print something is missing. Okay. And now click on the run and check the program. Rock, paper or scissor. So here I'm choosing the paper. Click on the enter button. So the computer also choose the paper, then the game is going to be drawn. And just write it in the more good way. To come on the script side, instead of adding the player 1 value here, just write here player 1, comma. So in the print function, we are adding the multiple string. So just separate it with the help of the comma. Player 1 versus player 2. Again click on the run and play the game on the right side of the screen. This time I'm going to choose the rock. Yeah. Now there is an error, which is the name error. Player is not defined. And the error is in the line number 13. So go to the line number 13 and there is an error which is player is not defined. Because the value is going to saved in the player 1. There is no any variable with the name of player. So just change it from the player to player 1. Sorry. Run again. Give the input paper. So this is the player 1, not the play 1R. Run again. Here I am choosing the input paper, enter, P versus R. Because the P is greater than R, then you won. And if you are facing any problem in this session for making the rock, paper, scissor game, then you can ask your question in the comment section without any agitation. So come again on the slides. And this is all about today's session. In the today's session, we have to make the rock, paper, scissor game and we are done with it. So play again, click on the run button, choose the scissor, click on the enter button, S. So here the user choose, I'm choosing the scissor and the computer give the input paper, and because the scissor is greater than the paper, then you won. So if you are facing any problem during making this game, then you can ask your question in the comment section without any hesitation. And also, if you want to learn all these concepts from the basics by making these story, games and animation inside the Scratch editor, then you can join this week of code 1 week recorded session, where you will get the 7-day recorded session, and each session will be the 40 to 45 minutes, and you can set your deadline based on your time management. Also, you will be able to take the 1-to-1 live doubt session, where you can ask your doubts which you have faced in any of this session, and also you can feature your project on the website which you have learned from the week of code. And for enrolling in this week of code, you can check the description, and also you can go to this URL, which is narayandojo.com/coding for kids. Okay, so bye. See you in the next week. Thank you.